Hey y'all, welcome to episode 6 of the Big Boy Basics. Today we're going over volume, reps, and sets. When to increase your volume, how many reps should you do, how many sets should you do. All that will be answered in this video. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Just past 800 subscribers. Really appreciate all you guys for supporting the channel. So let's get into it. Disclaimer as usual, these concepts are simplified and they are influenced with my own personal biases and experiences in training. And this is just a starting point for you guys, and you will find what works for you, what is optimal for you guys over time. So volume is just reps times sets times the number of weight you do. So in this example, I have 3 sets of 8 reps with 225 pounds for your total volume, which is 5,400 pounds for that session. Now, volume is the main driver of muscle growth, progressive overload in a sense. Now, being able to do more volume in a session with the same amount of sets and reps is essentially what's going to drive muscle growth. If you can do 3 sets of 8 reps for 250 pounds instead of 225 pounds, you're more likely going to have a bigger muscle, unless you're like super optimizing technique, only focusing on strength work. But that's not something you would do in a higher rep range anyways. So we don't need to overcomplicate this. If you can get more volume in a session with the same amount of reps and sets, you are gonna have a bigger muscle at the end of the day. So the question is, how many weekly sets should you have per body part per growing? So the sweet spot for hypertrophy is typically 10 to 20 sets throughout the week for a body part you are trying to grow. Now, some might need more, some might need less, depending on what you're wanting to do. But in this series, we're doing a full body split. So typically, how I just started with this is you're doing 3 times a week for that body part you want to hit, and just start with 3 sets per workout. So you're getting 9 weekly sets. Now I know that's suboptimal, it's under 10 sets, but you're still going to grow with your volume adjusted, with your RPE higher, like we talked about in last video. And guys, you can really milk 9 weekly sets for a long time. I'm still milking 9 weekly sets on my biceps and triceps, and they are still growing, and I'm past 16 inches now, okay? So don't think you can't milk under 10 weekly sets for a long time. But when you stop growing, this is generally a time when to increase your weekly set. If it's a body part you can measure, like I can measure my biceps and triceps, if it's not growing, maybe it's time to increase volume. But this is assuming all your other factors are stable. If you're not eating right and you're not sleeping right, your stress isn't under control, and then you're not growing, and then you think it's the weekly sets, I can guarantee it's one of those other 3. Your priorities need to be in place. Focus on those other major points, and then maybe increase your weekly sets. If your sleep is on point, you're gaining weight, but your body part isn't growing that you want to grow, and then your nutrition's also on point. Okay, make sure all these are the culminating factors. Don't automatically jump to the volume, because it might be your crappy lifestyle habits that are prohibiting you from increasing in size. Now, if you can't measure it, progress pics are a really good starting point. Take one like every month, and then just check once in a while to see. So when I measure though, I usually measure once a month, and then if I don't increase on the second month, then my plan is to increase volume. Now, if you don't like exercising with such intensity, like RPE 8 or 9 typically, if you want to do RPE 7 and make your workouts more lackadaisical, I would definitely increase your volume then, because you're not getting as hard of a stimulus, okay? If you're not that super hard grinder workout person, increase your volume to compensate for your intensity. If you're like me and you like to work out with intensity, 8 to 10 RPE, sometimes you fail your isolations and machines, you can have less weekly volume. I'm still on 9 weekly sets a lot of the time, but it's because my intensity is so high. Now, another time to increase your weekly volume is if progressive overload has stalled significantly. And this is assuming all your other factors are stable, like I mentioned earlier. All your other factors must be consistent before I really think you need to increase your weekly sets. But you might not respond to 9 weekly sets like me, so maybe you're a person that needs 12, so you'll figure that out with time, but you might be able to just milk 9 weekly sets for a long time. As you get more advanced though, you're not going to be able to add another rep every single time, so just keep that in mind. So if you are going to increase weekly sets, this is just a general example, assuming you're not strength training and you're just going for more muscle building, I would use the least taxing exercise on your rotation for that week. So in this example, I have bench press for 3 sets, cable flies for 3 sets, and dips for 3 sets. I would increase the volume on the least taxing exercise, which would be the isolation, the cable fly. So you could have bench press for 3 sets, cable fly for 4 sets, and then dips for 3 sets. So increase your volume because you still might be sore from 3 sets of bench press, but maybe you're not feeling it on the machine flies because 3 sets is just not enough. So you can increase your volume on the least taxing exercise. That's just how I personally do it, and I find works for a lot of people. Now, some people might wonder why only start with 9 weekly sets if that's suboptimal to a lot of people, a lot of science. One, you can milk these gains for a long time. You can get growth for a long time. And it's really convenient just to have 3 sets, 3 sets, 3 sets, and not have to worry about it. Number 2, you have the easiest ace in your pocket when muscle growth stalls. If you're responding to 9 weekly sets and then all things are stable to suddenly hit that plateau, guess what you need to do? You only need to add 1 extra set of something. That's like a 10% increase in your weekly volume just by adding 1 extra set. If you already hit the maximum 20 sets per week, where are you going to go from there? Now you need to worry about intensity techniques, drop sets, cluster sets, all these other advanced techniques, when you could just start at the lower end, milk that for as long as you can, and then just add 1 extra weekly set and then get a huge stimulus, and you can milk that for such a long time. And then also, if you can do less volume, why not just do that? If this is going to be a lifelong habit, a lifelong of muscle building, because it takes a long time anyways, why not just start at the lesser end and slowly work your way up over the years? So we went over sets, 3 sets for each exercise 3 times a week, meaning 9 weekly sets per body part. And later in the series, we're going to actually get into what exercises to do for each one of these sets. But for now, let's focus on the rep ranges. So what rep ranges should you do for your isolations and compounds? Generally, isolations you can do 8 to 20 reps, and this will be good at a hypertrophy zone. So this is just how I like to cluster my sets. You don't have to do it like me. It doesn't matter. This is just how I find I like to do it. So I do 8 to 10 for isolation, 10 to 12, 12 to 15. Then I have a very large one from 15 to 20 since it's such high rep work. Now you can do this any way you want. You could do 8 to 12 for a range. You could do 10 to 15 for a range. You could do 12 to 14 for a range. It doesn't really matter as long as you're consistent in your tracking. For your compounds, I'd recommend 4 to 12 if your focus is muscle growth. 1 rep is not going to provide that much stimulus. It's fun to max out, but if you're not powerlifting or even care about strength training while you're doing that, 2 to 3 is very similar, but 4 to 6 would be a good range if you like some strength but also some hypertrophy work. That's going to be a really good range for that. And then from there on, you can do 6 to 8, 8 to 10, and 10 to 12. So this is just how I cluster my sets, my tracking, and that's what I like to do. Now, like I said earlier, do what you want. You can organize your reps how you see fit to you. And this is not the end all be all. You can train compounds with higher reps. You could train isolations with lower reps. I've seen people do 5x5 on bicep curls and still get results, okay? So it's not needed to overthink. These are good general recommendations to start out with, but if, like for me, I've trained years without ever doing more than 10 reps on a bench press. Now, all my bench pressing is 10 plus reps just because it's something I've never exhausted and I'm getting good results. So you can always switch it up over time for something you need a new stimulus for. Now, over time, you'll find certain exercises match better with certain rep ranges. Like on a face pull, there's no point in doing a single. I'd even argue less than 10 reps, okay? I was trying Romanian deadlifts for more than 10 reps, and oh my God, my lower back was just so fatigued after that, so I have to keep it under 10 reps. Some people might be able to do that. That's not me. I can't do that, and my lower back just feels super fatigued. So you'll find what rep ranges work with certain exercises for you. This is a constant experimentation to find what works for you guys. Now, as I said, these are just guidelines to start out. You will find your optimal. You'll find what exercises you guys like, what rep ranges you guys like over time. You'll find out how to work out for yourself, but this series will really just get you in the gym and start experimenting and see what works for you. Now, the quote of the video from Chris Senos, hopefully I said that right: lifting converts emotional pain to physical pain. I laughed really hard at that one, so thank you for that. If you guys want your quote in the video, please comment down below. I'm having a lot of fun with this. Next video, we're going to go over progressive overload, the primary driver muscle growth by increasing your volume. So I'm going to give you 2 ways to do it. So make sure you stick around for that video because I'm going to make it really clear and really simple so you guys can get the best results possible. If you want my free ebook, it's in the description. Check out this whole playlist here because it's going to be a long series of everything you need to get started in the gym. And make sure to like and subscribe down below. Peace.